got my new setup, which is great. Right off the bat, those of you who are watching on Facebook, make sure you go over to the Canadian Immigration Institute channel on YouTube, because apparently someone is saying that I'm using copyright material, and I don't know, it must be the haters out there. So Facebook may block your feed on the Canadian Immigration Institute Facebook page. And within express entry law, we're still, the one we broadcasted last week was disputed, and of course they opened it up and said, yeah, that was wrong. But now it seems like they've done it again. So go over and watch this on YouTube. This YouTube is now going to be probably the home. I'm not going to waste time with stupid Facebook if they're not going to allow this to get out to the people who need it most. You guys go over to YouTube and subscribe there. YouTube is a far better place, and I'm just about done with Facebook. All right, enough of my rant. I am Canadian immigration lawyer Mark Holthe. I am loving life, offering as much help as I can to all of you out there navigating this crazy world of immigration. That's the whole nature of this live Q&A. And, as we're going forward and we're trying to figure out, kind of what the future holds, it's often complicated because there's no easy place that you can go to get your answers. And so that's why I started doing this. I would get lots of, short little calls from people, or on the various social media channels that I used, I would get little questions and I would answer that one person's question. But the reality is there were probably 1,000 people that could have benefited from the answer of that one question. And not everybody would see what I was posting in my, for example, my Express Entry Law private Facebook group. And so I decided to go big. I started doing the videos, the live videos, which Facebook Live was awesome. They were really good. But now they're just being really difficult. And I'm not sure what the issue is, other than haters posting some complaint about the video, just trying to be jerks. It's the only thing I can think of. Maybe some of you who are Facebook experts can reach out to Igor and I and just help us with this. I'm just a lawyer, right? I don't know how this stuff works. All I know is that this is all my own content. What I show is 100% either videos I've done myself or the publicly available government sites. So there's nothing private or copyright about what I do, other than I should be copywriting this myself. So there's my little vent. So go over to YouTube, watch it on YouTube, because Facebook could very well block it because they suck. All right. So with that being said, now people are jumping on, and I want to just give a shout out to those that are connected. We've got Jeet here who's connected. It's great to have you. Let me close this out. Who else do we have here? I'm doing very good, Ramula. And actually these images here are probably a little bit better. These overlays, you guys can see this a little bit better. We've got a Facebook user. We'll see how long Facebook sticks around. Okay. Pete is already asking questions about LMIAs. I know you know what? I'm just going to start answering, because the most important thing right now, I got a couple announcements I'm going to make, and then I'm going to start powering through, answering questions, and just being as much help as I can to you guys today. I am so excited about the future of Canada. And one of the things we've noticed is that while the US is shutting things down, Canada is starting to open things up, which really is, it's a testament to how awesome this country is. I want to share my screen with you guys. I'm going to switch over here to, let's see if I can get to the right page. So if you go over here, IRCC has just announced, and they posted it on their Twitter account, some amazing new developments. Well, they're not amazing, but they're really cool what they're trying to do to help facilitate international students. So while the US is like kicking students out, Canada is taking steps to try to help people in the midst of this pandemic. And if you look here on this page, you can see that they're instituting some new measures, and you actually have to kind of take a look at to the actual posts. So you can see here, you can now include the time you apply for a study permit rather than when you were approved for one toward a future post-graduation work permit. Why is that important? Because it's taking long to process applications, or there's been things that have arisen that have prevented you from being able to get that study permit in the first place. Some schools are going online. And Canada is saying, even if you're not in the country, we're going to give you credit up to 50% of your program of time in Canada that maybe you weren't even spending in Canada towards your eligibility for the postgrad work permit, which is an amazing development. It's just, like I said, a testament to how awesome our country is. Big shout out to immigration. Big shout out to our minister, Marco Mendicino. Just fantastic things. And it makes me proud to be an immigration lawyer. So you'll see here, students must eventually be approved for a study permit and complete more than 50% of their program in Canada. So you can start out, right? Then they talk about the fact that they are prioritizing these processing for students who submit a complete application, which is not easy. There's biometrics if you're overseas. There's a lot of other things that can trip you up. But right now, immigration is doing everything they can within the framework of the law to be able to facilitate students. And I'm not going to take the whole time talking about this, but maybe I'll have Igor post in the link in the description, just a link to this announcement from Minister Minicino. But it's just such a wonderful development. Now, ultimately, whether or not you can travel, that's a different discussion. And we've talked a little bit about that before. As international students, you often will be in a position where your school may have a hybridized program. Maybe your course doesn't necessarily need you to be in Canada. And in those circumstances, a border officer could say, look, your entry is optional or discretionary. You have to demonstrate to them that it is non-optional, non-discretionary, at least for this time. And as you know, even in my city of Lethbridge here, we're seeing the cases go up a little bit. We've had a little bit of a spread. Now we're talking, maybe 15 people or 20 out of 100,000, right? And we're totally on top of it. But we're not out of the woods with this whole pandemic. And that's what's causing all the problems for all of you amazing, amazing people that are looking to come to Canada. I'm just going to give myself a little focus here. So with all this being said, the bottom line is Canada is an awesome place to come. And yesterday I had a whole bunch of issues getting my equipment set up to do the recording as I switched to new computers and things. And so I wasn't able to get that study permit guide, but I will be creating this for you guys. Like I've talked about in the past, if you go to, and I need to adjust this here. If you go to Canadian, well, I better get on the right screen here, guys. Okay, Canadian Immigration Institute. I've got this new .com. That will take you to the source where you can get access to these courses. The one that has been driving the ship for so long is my complete step-by-step course to doing it yourself for express entry. And I'll tell you guys right now, if you purchase now, all you have to do is type in the code. And I think now I have to manually type it in once again, EEDIY 50. That code, when you apply it, will give you 50% off this access to the course. And so there's the plug for the course. It's there. It's designed to help you guys. Now it is time. So now I'm going to shift screens here. I'm going to go back to this view here, and we are going to tackle all these questions from our listeners. Okay, let's see what we've got going on here. We've got a good group of people that have tuned in. It looks to me like that Facebook has dropped off because now it's like, so once again, they've blocked it, which is, well, that's why I'm going to focus on YouTube. All right. So Mark Zuck won't like Mark Holthy's prognosis. That's funny. Okay, so we've got Anbu from Miami. Grateful to have you joining. We've got Joe over in Kamloops. Great. I'm glad that you guys are able to connect here. It's so frustrating. It's so annoying when I know a whole cohort of people over on Facebook now are not watching this live, but it happens. So, okay. So Gerline says, hey, what can we use to support cash salary? You know what? Every single individual is different. If you're paid cash, technically immigration isn't asking you to prove that. What they ask is whether you're paid by cash or electronic transfer to support your express entry application. The key here is that they say provide a reference letter and pay stubs if available. So provide the pay stubs. So if you are receiving by cash, then have a record. If it's if you're listening to this and you're working and you know that you're not going to be able to qualify for a couple of years, then start taking those steps now. If you do not have pay stubs, then you have to rely on the reference letter and hope that that is sufficient. Now, what are some other things? Often people will show if they've paid taxes on that employment income. That's another option, but really it depends on each individual, and it's something that I dive in deep in my consultations with you guys. That is how I am able to kind of sort out and give you guys the best information. Now, I'm just going to also jump over here to show you guys. if I can follow. It's interesting now that I've got the new computer, I'm having to search everything up manually again, but I'm just going to jump over here and just remind you guys here on the site, all you need to do is click start here, and any of these questions that tend to be specific, usually what I'm going to do here, and I don't think I have my little bell that I can ring here, if it's specific legal advice, you know, how can I solve this problem that I'm having? That would be directed, I would direct you right here to the start here button on the wholethelaw.com site. All right, so I'll direct you back to that. All right, let's jump back here and let's see what else we've got going. Okay, Vikrant, you're right. Oh, I didn't even notice that. Yes, the student visa guide is going to be released right away. I'm focusing my time on it. If I showed you guys my calendar, you guys would be like, how do you get anything done, Mark? How do you even find time to do this? It's because this is a priority. I schedule this first. Then I schedule my consults. Then I schedule the rest of my time. And I have a pretty awesome little solar company that I also run with my brothers called 3B Energy. And we're in the process of really doing some very cool things with that, which is kind of a little bit of a side thing just for fun. So I've got a lot going on, but you guys are my priority. Okay, Ryan's tuning in from Toronto. Great to have you here, Ryan. Rahi, I'm doing awesome, my friend. It's great to have you chiming in here. Obviously, these Facebook people are probably dropped off now, I suspect. And I see the numbers are climbing back up on YouTube, which is great. If YouTube is gonna welcome and realize how awesome this live is, then why would I waste time on Facebook other than putting a link back to Facebook to the original that's hosted on YouTube? So there we go. All right. Yep. How long does an LMIA take, Peter? That just depends. Right now, it's really stalled out. It depends on the nature of the LMIA. It depends on the industry. It depends upon the occupation. It depends upon how urgent you can make it be. If it's not urgent, if it's like for a restaurant cook or something like that, you know, then it's obviously things are stalled out. The problem is that they're still getting ESDC, which is the government body that oversees the issuance of LMIAs. They are, by and large, have been a paper-based operation. And so they haven't had the officers that are able to actually do the applications remotely from home. Now they've started the online process, and we're hoping that this is going to transform the efficiency within the SDC Temporary Foreign Worker Program, but it's still a work in progress. So if you have limited officers and they all can't congregate to do applications, and they have to work on shifting schedules or even not even go in, because this is a government and they take it very seriously, even more so. They're not willing to take the same risks that maybe a regular business would to operate. You know, if they can't do things, they just say, well, we can't because of maintaining social distancing. Okay, so I can't give you a processing time right now, and they don't even give them to us. All right. Okay, let's see what we've got here. Mark is the best, all the money worth. Ralph, I love you, man. You're awesome. Okay. How can we get how we can help from Bangladesh? Well, this Facebook user, I'm not sure if they'll see it. Maybe they'll see it after. But guys, my whole practice is virtual. I work with people all over the world in a collaborative fashion where we share screens, where I have all of our confidential information, client information is stored in SharePoint, one of the most secure online sources. And we share that screen with our clients. And we share the folder with our clients. We have the clients upload all their documents into that folder. And then we review everything together in a live video session, lawyer and client. And that is the model that I absolutely love. And I do so many reviews now. And I get to know people on a level that I never got to know them before. They become like family. And yeah, can I scale this? Well, yeah, I can, through the use of lawyers that care about you and really are serious about providing the best client service they can. That's really what it's all driven about. Okay, Saki, how are you? Crudy says hi. And these Facebookers are off now, but when the numbers I can see are still climbing, which is really good. That means people are moving over from Facebook to YouTube. And I'm sorry to make you guys have to do that, but hey, what do you do if Facebook is blocking this? You tell me. What about this is something that would need to be blocked, other than someone's posting or suggesting that it's not good. They just reversed it last week after the live was over. So at 2:30, I should say on Tuesday, they said, oh yeah, we were wrong. Sorry about it. It's so frustrating. Once something gets popular, then it's like they just want to kill it. Personally, I think this is the whole reason Facebook exists, is for people like me to do exactly what I'm doing for you guys. But if they don't see it, then that's fine. I can more than happy to put all of my effort into YouTube, and maybe that's where I should go. You guys let me know. If you think YouTube is better, give me a thumbs up. All right. We've got Jiva over in Toronto. Welcome. All right, let's see what we've got here. Yaya says, "Dear Mark, you're always welcome here, and I appreciate your content and channel. I'm planning to have a session with you after my IELTS test." Oh, great. Thank you. And like I said to everyone else, it's a simple matter of just going over here to our website and clicking on the Start Here button, and you can book a consult. You can see right there, it's $210 for a 25-minute consult. But the reality is you send the information to me in advance, and when we have that consult, it's not me sitting listening to your story. It's all about giving you the answers you need. And I can tell you that it's worth it. Can I tell you that it's worth it? Yeah, I can. But you can listen to the other people that have booked consults and make your own decision too. All right. Okay, moving back here. Viral, hello to you. This is pretty funny. I love this one. He's got a Canada as his image. That's great, Jeevan. Canadian immigration good. Yes, it is, my friend. It's super good. All right. We've got Barry over in Qatar. Awesome. I just finished working with a client over there just the other day. It's so fun when the consults are booked because they're all stacked up. I try to compress them in the time periods that I have for consults set aside, and it's so cool because when I click that button to see who's coming up, often I don't have a clue where these people are until I start reviewing the information that they've sent in, and it's really fun to see people all over the world, especially people who sacrifice staying up late in order to have the consult with me. And it's made all the difference for me. Okay, Viral, love to you back from Lethbridge, my friend. Okay. Dill says, hey, can we claim 30 points for study in Canada if someone does 3 different diplomas for 3 years with the duration of 1 year each in Canada? The points are all based on the number of years of that particular program. So in these circumstances, Dill, obviously I don't want to give you any misinformation here, but I can tell you that my interpretation is that those programs, if you want to claim the 30 points, you have to have a program itself that is at least 3 years. You can't just take a series of short little diplomas. You're only going to get 15. Okay. But the reality is, Dill, based on the information you have, that's what it appears. I don't know exactly the nature of those other 3 little diplomas, but I suspect they're distinct individual courses. And if that's the case, the rules are set up to require it to be at least 3 years. Okay, let's see. Yogra says, I got an ITA before completing my 1 year CEC experience. Is it okay if I accept the ITA? Yogra, this is what I got to tell you, my friend. It depends. And I've talked about this quite frequently in other videos. I don't want to say, yeah, go ahead, do it. I don't want to say, hey, decline that ITA. There are so many factors that play into that decision, and that is one of the more common reasons people book consults. Because if you are in a situation where you're unlikely to ever get another ITA, then you're going to fight and you're going to defend your ITA. You're going to wait till you get the actual extra month and a half of experience or whatever it is that you need, because of the fact immigration rounds up by month the work history that you do. And the problem Yogaraj is talking about here is he probably started work, say July. Let's say he started work June 30th. And then he completed, and he's still working. So immigration would have given him credit for the whole month of June, even though maybe he only worked 1 day in that month, because you enter it in as 06-2020. And so lots of people run into this, Yogaraj. And the reality is I need to look at your situation. I recommend you book a consult because that decision and what to do and what not to do is a significant one for you. If you decline, go back into the pool, maybe the CRS score doesn't go down that level ever again. If you choose to proceed forward, then you need to make very, very sure that, and be prepared that you're taking the risk potentially that an officer could say you didn't meet the entry criteria when you submitted your application. However, if I was to strategize, In some cases where I don't believe my client's going to get another ITA, then we do proceed, but we wait until all of the work experience that you were awarded at the ITA level has been completed. And with the extension to 90 days to file the ITA, that's usually enough to resolve any issues that have come as a result of, potentially resolve issues that have arisen because of getting an ITA earlier than you should. But I can't tell you one way or either way here. I really recommend that you book a consult so we can look at everything together. Okay, Jiva says, do you see any CC specific draw? That's a good question. I'll be honest, that's a really good question. I'm just not certain right now. I think there's a chance, but they issued 3,900 invitations in the last round when it was open. And so I think there's a possibility. I really do, Jiva, as people and the travel restrictions are still in place. I think they still want to land people that are in Canada who are here living already. In fact, many people who maybe are unemployed, but they're just waiting to go back to work. I think they'd by far rather have them convert to permanent residence than have people falling out of status and all of the ripple effect of problems that exist when people are unable to extend their status and at the same time unable to return home because of flight restrictions and the whole coronavirus travel restrictions. Okay, good question. Okay. Lucky, this is a tough one. If you don't have education, then it's really, really hard to be able to qualify for immigration under any program. It's only the family class when you have a Canadian spouse where education really doesn't matter. And that's an overgeneralization. There are other areas as well, but take most of the provincial nominee programs, even Alberta, that allows for low skill work to be counted in their Alberta opportunity stream to transition to PR, still require high school at a minimum. So without education, really, really tough. Okay. Here's another Facebook user looking into a gift deed for finalizing my proof of funds. Can this only be from family or can a gift come from anyone? I've had this question a lot in the past as well. I've always taken the position, family gives money, friends lend money. And so if you're saying, hey, I've got a friend that is going to just give me $20,000 to meet the proof of funds, and here's the gift deed, immigration, I think it's going to be harder for you to convince them that that truly is available for you and that it's not a loan. A loan is not acceptable. It has to be a gift that is irrevocable. It's a gift that does not ever have an expectation that it will be repaid. It's free and clear. It's yours. And friends just don't give that kind of money to friends. Not typically. So if you do choose to go that route, be prepared. Immigration may not buy it. Okay. Yes, AMNA sponsorship are still pending. I'm sorry. I know that they have recently created a new unit to start going in and just scan. You can imagine all of these paper-based applications so that the officers can work on them out of their homes. And many of the immigration officers, whether it's the Foreign Worker Program, whether it's IRCC, they're all working from home. There are very few that are actually in the offices. And so because of that, this is one of the ways that they're trying to start moving things forward. So they've got a team that's their job is just to go in and just scan so that the officers can then access things virtually. So I'm so sorry. Okay, Karen says, does an expiring LMIA have an effect on an FSW application, EE in progress after AOR? Karen, usually those types of offers, like the LMIAs, you'd have to clarify what kind of an LMIA it is. Now, LMIAs are valid for 6 months when they're issued generally. A permanent LMIA, when you submit the application, that is not going to, if you're actually going through the process, generally speaking, and you have it valid at the time you submit your application, it's not going to expire if it's in the case of a permanent resident. So if you're not intending to come and work in Canada, it's just a permanent LMIA. Those, if you just think about it, just by its very nature, are not going to expire because the employer is basically saying, I'm going to have this job open for when Karen gets his permanent resident approval, his passport request, he sends that in, he gets his visa, he gets his confirmation of permanent residence. I'm going to employ him when he comes. That's what the permanent LMIA is. But there's dual purposes, and those ones are a problem sometimes. So if you're applying, and you haven't indicated this, Karen, but if you are applying for a work permit, then in the same light, as long as you submit that work permit application, even though it's hung up in the visa office, if then the LMIA has expired, well, you're still locked in, you're still okay. But in both cases, you need to actually move forward with your application. And if processing is such that, you know, you've done everything that you can, then usually there's a lock-in period that will protect you. But as always, Karen, your question, there may be some other nuances that I'm missing. So I would put in my my disclaimer that this is legal advice. This is all of this is not to be considered as legal advice, but I don't have that banner. So this is a good opportunity to take a little break. And I'm actually going to just shift over here. And then when I come back, I'm going to talk just for a second about this whole concept of legal advice. All right, so the reality is when it comes to the advice and direction that I'm giving here, this is actually not to be considered as legal advice. So what I'm trying to share with all of you is information, answers to your questions in a way that will help everybody. So the questions that come up that are general in nature, that apply to every situation, those ones I'm delighted to answer. But when you're asking about something specifically that relates only to you, I need to understand all the facts before I can give that advice. I don't want to just throw out some answer. And you guys have seen this online. Someone will ask some question and then someone else will just throw out some generic answer and they will not understand the context. Then that person will rely on it to their detriment. And as a lawyer, as a Canadian immigration lawyer, it is critical that I am not giving legal advice that people are, that they're relying on to their detriment. So I'm very careful how I answer the questions, and it's as much for your protection as it is for mine. But as you can see, the information is very free, and I give everything out that I possibly can, and it's only rare situations where I can't actually answer questions. Okay, thank you for bringing that one up. Okay, let's see. Mahesh says, I hope you're doing good. God bless. Thank you. Mancy says, hi. We're going to zip through a bunch here, and we're doing actually really good. But you can see Facebook, there's no more. Mancy here is got Facebook, so maybe some of them are still going. I don't know. Okay, here's a good question. So this one comes from Arthur. He says, can you help me verify the LMIA? And thank you. Yes, I can. Arthur, in fact, with fraud and the corruption that exists, that's perpetuated by these crooked, unscrupulous agents, we see a lot of this fake LMIA business. So if you just message me, send it to me in Messenger, okay, Arthur, and just upload it there. That's a good, secure, private place, and I can tell you instantly whether or not it's a legitimate LMIA or not. But I can tell you, Arthur, that the vast majority of people, if you're asking me if it's legitimate, 99% of the time it's not. Because you're not going to get an LMIA from a company that you've never spoken with. You're going to understand the process because you're going to be intricately involved in, in that connection with that company. And yes, they're going out. Yes, they're getting bulk LMIAs. Maybe there's a recruiter that's working between. But if you don't know anything about the company you're working for, more than likely that LMIA is just a scam. All right. But send it to me in Messenger and I'm happy to help you with that. Okay. Okay, so Sanaz here, I'm just going to post yours here. You've got a big question here, and it's not terribly specific other than I can generalize it down and basically say, yes, your application's been in the queue forever. Request an ATIP. And we do this for our clients all the time. I'm happy to help you with this, Sanaz, but you need to do an access to information request to see why it's been in process for more than a year. Okay, there's always a reason. It's been sent for review. Maybe in February it was sent for the review, and then at that stage the coronavirus came. You're overseas, so it's just not going anywhere. But for many people, paper-based applications over the last 3 or 4 months are not going anywhere. And when it comes to you being overseas, requiring a visa office, immigration basically stopped processing all of those express entry applications that are outside of Canada. So you're all kind of hung up. But a good place to start is to do an access to information request. Okay, let's see what we have here. Okay, GB asks an interesting question. They say, will having a UCI number assist in any way with immigration process? Well, not really. It just means that you've applied before. Hopefully you were approved a visa or something like that, but having one in and of itself just means that you've submitted an application to immigration before. Okay. Ashwin's given a nice little sunglass cool emoji. Very cool. Stoican says, hi, yo, yo, yo. All right. Okay. Okay, here's a good one. This one comes up from time to time. Crudy says, I'm aware that charter allows to change. It's the Charter of Rights and Freedoms that allows to change provinces if one is still on a PNP. I have no intention to cheat any PNP. For knowledge, what is the minimum time to live in Saskatchewan? Crudy, that's something, this is something I truly can't answer other than affirming what you've said. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms allows you to move from one province to another, regardless of whether or not you came into that province as a provincial nominee. And I know you're not looking to cheat, Crudy, and that's awesome. And the simple answer I give all my clients is stay. Do everything in your power to make it work. If you're in a situation where you're not able to provide for your family and your opportunities that you hoped were there just aren't, well then yeah, you move for the best interest of your family. But under no situation would I ever consider going to a province unless I actually truly desired to be there. Because the reason they're extending it for you, that nomination, is in hopes that you will come and make the province better, to help strengthen it, to help start a business, create jobs. That's why they selected you. And you are a precious, precious nominee for them. They invest a lot in you, and they hope that by giving you an opportunity where maybe many of you would not through the regular express stream, that you will repay that trust by actually staying there and making it your home. That's my theory on that one. Okay. Okay, we've got Elias here from Tunisia, living in South Africa. Yeah, I absolutely must come and visit. You know, I need to go to a lot of places. And I think once these travel restrictions lift, I'm actually going to go on a world tour. So I'm going to go around and schedule big meetings and centers where I can answer people's questions in person and do this live and just basically go out to you. That would be the coolest thing for me, and I would love it. It would be so awesome. I've never been to South Africa. I've heard so many awesome things about it. I'd love to be there. And in fact, there are so many countries out there I'd love to go visit. Okay, Abanash, love to you too from Canada. Okay. Steve says, hey, Mark, this is Steve from Trinidad. Steve, yes. Richard and I are impressed by your splendid service. Igor is amazing. We will be chatting with you soon. Oh, you guys, I am so excited. Now, Steve is showing a lot of faith in me because they started the process with a consulting firm and now an immigration consulting firm, and they decided that it was in their best interest to switch over to me. So even though you are working with a consultant, I have told repeatedly people all over that my mission is that every single person deserves the right to have an immigration lawyer representing them. It's, this whole concept of access to justice, which is a big push. The reality is everybody deserves the right to be able to have an immigration lawyer representing them. And that's why I do what I do, to make it accessible. And ironically, the consultant that these awesome clients, Steve and Richard, have been using, they charge more for their service than I do. So for those of you who think lawyers are more expensive, the reason I went virtual, the reason I got rid of my office space was to be in a position where I could actually offer my services at a rate that's accessible for all. Even this is a pretty cheap rate for people to ask questions and get answers, right? Free. All right. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Steve. I really appreciate it. And I'm so looking forward to it. And I know Igor is amazing. And I'll be honest, guys, I often fill my office with support staff and people that were previous clients because we developed this unbelievable relationship. I know how smart you guys are. I know how hardworking you are. I know the difference that you're going to make not only to my office, but to the country. And you are often the ones that I look for when I'm looking to add people to the firm, and that's not going to change. So there's a big shout out. So thanks, Steve. Very cool. Okay. Roshan says, my closed work permit is expiring soon. What should I do? Can I apply for temporary resident? Roshan, this is a perfect example of a legal question that requires a legal answer. So my friend, I recommend that you go to the website I'm going to flip my screen over here. click on the Start Here button, complete the questionnaire, and get the process started so that I can talk to you. Time is everything, and sometimes there isn't things that I can do. Now, I should get, I'm actually going to invite my one of my past clients. Yesterday, I dropped everything to help a client file an emergency bridging open work permit application and temporary resident permit application, which is a strategy that we're trying to employ, where she'd applied for she got her nomination from the province. She's in Canada. She's on a postgrad work permit. Well, in this case, it was a bridging open work permit, but that's a different story. But her status was expiring. Her employer, one of the major banks, which I'm not gonna name the bank, although I'd like to, were absolutely useless and did nothing, and were not willing to help her at all, other than telling her manager that on Saturday she's going to be out of status unless she can prove she has a work permit. Then we're not going to help her. And it just really irritates me. They just use and have no desire to actually help the people that they employ. And yeah, needless to say, that bank, I'm going to cancel my account with them and move it to a different bank. It irritates me when they don't care. But fortunately for this client, she contacted me. So we went to unbelievable lengths to quickly put together and submit an actual application for a bridging open work permit, together with a temporary resident permit, a TRP, to overcome, or to at least request that they show discretion, given the problem is not hers. Processing of those paper-based PNP applications are just stalled out, so no one's getting acknowledgments of receipt. So so long story short, we're here to help and we care. Okay, so Roshan, I recommend that you do book a consult, my friend. All right, let's see who we have next here. Okay, we got some multiple questions that are being asked, and that's fine. Okay, so here's another specific one. And Abdul, this one also kind of borders, right? So this is where he says, I've got a question about reference letters. Me and my brother both work in the same university as a lecturer with some responsibilities. Can we make the same reference letter and signed by the HOD? Well, the simple answer here is that you have to make sure that whatever you're putting in the letter is true and accurate, that the duties you performed are the same duties. I would expect that for most companies, the jobs that they have all have the same job description if they're the same position. So I don't have any issues with the duties being identical. If you're both filling the exact same role, then I would expect that would be the case. Now, obviously, the other elements of it, the person's name, their wage, how long they've been working, all of that's going to be customized. But in your situation, I wouldn't be afraid of it, but it just needs to make sense. And if you have questions, once again, Abdul, a consult that can resolve everything for you and your brother and give you advice that you can actually rely on. Stoican, hi, bro. I'll give you a shout out. Okay. So Johnny says, I'm waiting for a passport request for Alberta Pnp. By when can I expect it? Oh, good question. Processing times is not something that I can prognosticate right now. No one can. So I wish I could tell you. And but the reality is, and I think you're waiting for the nomination for the Alberta Pnp. Same situation. It's paper based. They're working with a skeleton crew. In many cases, applications are not being processed because the officers can't all get together in the locations where they traditionally produce applications because of social distancing. So I can't tell. Akin Wumi says haters. Yes, my friend, haters. Oh. And I apologize. I see all the comments now you can see are all YouTube. That's because Facebook blocked the feed as being somehow, utilizing, some type of copyrighted material. I don't know what that is. So we'll try to work on it anyways. Okay, guys, let's see what else we got here. All right, we've got lots of thumbs up. Steve says, YouTube always. So this is everybody is saying, yes, YouTube is so much better. YouTube is better. That's hilarious. You can see how many questions it takes me to get to this. YouTube always. Yes. Okay. Is OINP still an option for international students? Guys, everything is kind of up in arms. We really don't know what the possibilities are. Each program, is it going to be in existence? Even though a program is in existence, are they going to issue notifications of interest? Are they going to open it up? The PNPs like Alberta just decided that they're going to reduce the numbers from 6,500 nominations to only 4,000. Other provinces may be following suit. So that's one I can't answer. We got another big thumbs up for YouTube. Okay. Okay. This is awesome. I love this handle. Mom's Recipes on Air. Lawful, dear love. Awesome. Okay. The question is, this is Andrew. Will there be possible to get another NOI if you decline one? I have an NOI for OINP under the Human Capital Priority Stream, but one of the reference letters is still outstanding. Please give your opinion. It is extremely difficult. Often, once they've extended one, they won't extend another one on the same profile. I'm just going to reduce you off of here. So in many cases, people actually have to create a new profile to then trigger the system if they do another round of invitations to reissue a new notification of interest. So sometimes you actually have to cancel your profile and start a new one if you've already received an NOI and then it's passed. But understand that if you've received one and you've rejected it, like you've gone through the process and you can't complete what they need, there is no guarantee that they will ever extend one again. So it's a significant risk. I go to unbelievable lengths not to cancel. Now, I had one of my clients who she received one of those same notifications of interest, but then she received the ITA, which we didn't think she was going to get. So in that case, we didn't proceed forward with the OINP. We went straight forward with express entry, which makes all the sense in the world. Okay. Hashim says YouTube is defo better. Thumbs up. What's the plan with Outland FSW peeps who have a January 2020 AOR? Well, you look at it. January right now, we're only into July. And so even in the best of circumstances without the coronavirus, you're still kind of in that range. But now they haven't opened up to start processing everywhere. Some cases, yes, but not everywhere. Okay. Here's a great question. Donna says, hey, can I get a study permit while on a 1-year postgrad work permit? You can always go back to school again. You can, but understand, going back to school to take another program is not going to allow you to get another postgrad work permit. Once that PGWP is burned up, you are not getting another one. So take that into consideration. Donna, if you're looking at strategy, trying to figure out what you need to do or what the options are, I recommend that you book a consult so we can explore them. I would hate for you to delay, wait, and then not have any options. Okay, let's see what we have here. Lots more YouTubers. We've got Anna watching from the UK. Welcome, Anna. Oh, look at this. Sahil says, Mark, I would like to send you some honey from my apiaries. Oh, that would be awesome. I love honey. Sometimes I love herbal tea and I love to put honey in it. I love to put honey on my toast. I love to mix honey into my oatmeal. So it is my favorite sweetener. That would be so amazing. I don't know where you're from, Sahil, but that would be so cool. Thank you. That's very kind to even say that. Okay, I like this. Ali says, hello, Anna. Very cool. I like that interaction between you guys. Oh, who do we have here? We've got Paulo Alves. Oi, Mark, tudo bem. Tudo bem, amigo meu. He said, I'd love to hear your thoughts about dual intent. Okay, I'm in the pool with CRS 446, but decided to go through college. January 21st intake. Obrigado. Okay, de nada in advance, Paulo. The reality is it does play a role. If you've got a profile in the pool that tells immigration that you have an intention at one point in time of becoming a permanent resident. Now, how harshly they take that and how much weight they give that really depends on the country that you're coming from. And there's no other way to say it. So if you have got an application in the pool and you're coming from the US and you're looking to study in Canada, it's probably not going to have near the impact that it would have, say, now I know you're probably in Brazil, you could be in Portugal too, Portugal, but the reality is when you're applying, the country from which you're applying from plays a huge role. For example, India, that can almost be a deal killer. Now, understand, this is where immigration lawyers fit in. If an officer uses that as the sole reason for refusing, that is a reviewable error. That's something that because the immigration legislation does allow for dual intent. process, the concept that someone can intend to become a permanent resident and still demonstrate an intention to abide by all of the temporary conditions on their work permit or their study permit or their visitor status. And so it does play a role, but the reality is you'll never know unless you try at this stage. For me, I often will counsel people, if I don't think their score is going to be high enough, not to submit an application into the pool. If they're looking at benefiting from one of these amazing education programs, then in those circumstances and coming to study and leverage off of that, then I would often tell them not to submit a profile, but try the study permit first. If it's refused, no big deal. It doesn't stop you from continuing with express entry. But that's how I approach it. Awesome. This is a great question, Bernard. Thank you, sir, for asking this one. This is a really, really good one. This is a legal question, but it's not legal information. So you got to have a brain and understand the legislation about this one. So, hi, Mark, should we update through web form if we got laid off from our job due to COVID? Already submitted EAPR and the application is almost at 100% completion bar. So, Bernard, here's the key. You are probably qualified under the Canadian Experience class. Right? So the question becomes, does notifying immigration create, or failing to notify them, result in a misrepresentation by omission? And what it comes down to for you, there is no harm whatsoever in notifying them. If you're drawn under the Canadian Experience class, now let me backtrack. This is where you can get into problems, right? Because Bernard, I actually recommend that you book a consult. But understand that when you attest and when you sign off, and I don't have it, I'm going to do a video special on this. When you are signing off and filing your EAPR, and even when you're submitting your profile, you actually attest that you will update any changes that occur in your application. And if your application is listed as being working and that's your current occupation, if you don't update it, then you're continuing to tell immigration that you're still working by default, because you've clicked it off as your current occupation. If it's not, and the work that you're describing, well, technically, even in the personal history, you're going to be describing it as your current work. In every case, I notify, so I don't hold off. I always will do a web form and I'll notify them. But in your case, Bernard, unless there's somehow, well, even your job offer isn't necessarily linked per se to if you're getting an extra 50 points, I expect that you're probably not, that you've just gone through as a postgrad or something like that. But in your case, the Canadian Experience class, you don't have to continuously be employed. You're already locked in with your work history. So I'm going to shy away from saying yes or no, but those are some of the factors that you need to look at. And in your case, I'd actually recommend that you book a consult before deciding to proceed forward with a decision like that. But generally speaking, for everyone, I usually advise people that you're better to disclose than not. Full stop. Okay. All right. Let's see what we have here. Okay. I skipped past this one, I think, for Raj, but I'm assuming that you're really struggling with and this is a Periscope. Awesome. It's great to have someone tuning in from Periscope. I apologize, Raj. I must have skipped past your comment. This seems like it's a follow-up. We cannot reunite. And, I just encourage you to maybe post that again. I'm not quite sure what that one relates to, so I must have missed it. So I apologize. Okay. Let's see here. Here's a good question. They say, Bernard says, hey, where's the online express entry application done in the U.S. processed? Is it in Canada or in the visa center in the U.S.? Online, often many of them are now processed in Canada. And one of the reasons is because Canada is, well, for obvious reasons, officers that were in different countries, often many of them came back. But express entry has kind of been the hub, the center in Ottawa, and then anywhere really an express entry application can be processed, but to a large extent, US-based applications are being processed in Canada, but they can be shifted anywhere in the world. So there is no hard and fast rule. Okay, we're closing in. I'm going to jump down to some people who've probably been posting. We've got some thank yous here. We've got some you're the best. Good. I'm really happy about that. Okay, so Ryan says, hey, I'm already entitled for the job offer supported by an LMIA if required. Points after completing a year of work on the same job offer. Okay, so I'm not quite sure what your question is, Ryan, but job offers are either supported by LMIAs, a permanent one before you come to Canada, a dual purpose, which helps you to get a work permit and use it for PR. And the third option is that you're working under an employer-specific work permit for at least a year. All of those can allow you to become eligible for either the 50 points or the 200 points if you're a 00 knock. Okay. All right. And if I'm skipping past your question when you've put a lot in there, it's because it's more specific to just you. And that would be legal advice that would require you to book a consult with me. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so Bridget says, do you help with the international student stream for Ontario? I'm on a postgrad work permit and I need assistance. Bridget, I help with all things. I recommend that you book a consult. We can explore the options and then we can go from there. Okay. Okay, here's a good question. Parmar says, after nomination from the SIMP and ITA and EE, do we need to show some funds in EE as we show in SIMP? Understand that under express entry, unless you are exempt from needing to provide funds, in other words, you've got a job offer or you've been drawn under the Canadian Experience class, you have to provide proof of funds, regardless of what happens with the province. Okay. Okay, here's a good question. We're just about done here. We got a couple more I'm going to go through, but Yang asks a really good question here. He says, how to show the intention to reside in Ontario when applying to Ontario from outside of Ontario. So I'm assuming I have to quit my job in my current province. Okay, Yang, one thing you have to understand is I don't understand which program you're necessarily going through, but in all cases, one of the biggest hurdles to going forward with one province, when you have to demonstrate an intention to reside there, one of the biggest issues is when you're actually living and working and you're established in another. So unlike someone who's never been to Canada, they actually have an easier chance of showing that intention than if you are living somewhere else in another province and you have family in that province or other connections. So yeah, so it's not easy. And Yang, that's something that we'd need to dive into in a lot more detail. But do you actually quit your job and move from your current province? That's something that I'm not going to be able to answer here because there's a lot of different factors at play, and I don't want to give you the bad advice because I don't have all the facts. So I recommend, Yang, that you book a consult and we talk about that. Okay. Okay. Arnish says here, can you tell what if the PCC expires during the processing of the application under CC Inland applicant? If you have submitted your EAPR, then it's okay. It doesn't matter. Like that will be locked in at the acknowledgement of receipt stage. When they've completed the completeness check, it will be locked in. So it's okay if your police certificates are expiring. Okay, we are, I think, just about at the end here. And I apologize. There's quite a few people all on YouTube. And you know what? This is crazy. I'm so happy for you guys. Like I see we're up to about 135 people watching live again now. And it looks like we've got some Periscope. Soheil says we've got some audio issues right here on Periscope. Not quite sure what that's about. Let's see here. I don't think there's anything else. Oh, we've got some sound problems. I wonder why that's happening. My apologies. Hopefully it's not affecting everybody. I'm getting no sound. That's really interesting because I should be. There's nothing blocking it. Well, I guess that's a good time to wrap things up then. Hopefully I didn't lose a ton of time, a ton of, the video with no audio because I'm showing the audio is working fine. Maybe you guys can just confirm those who are still, oh, Ralph says, no, it's okay. Sound is great. That's what happens when it's, I think I need Igor to be on speed dial to just clarify these kinds of things. Anyways, we're just at the end here. I've got to jump off and get on another consult. I want to express sincere appreciation as always to all of you guys. You're awesome. Like I wouldn't be able to do this if it wasn't for your fantastic questions and just all of your support. Those of you who are smart about Facebook that want to reach out and give me tips on how to figure out why they're blocking me, Igor and I would welcome your advice and direction. Just send us an email to either Igor or I, and we would be very, very happy to receive your direction and guidance. All right, guys, it's Mark Holthe here. I'm just going to get ready to wrap up, but I am a Canadian immigration lawyer, not a consultant. I don't need an RCIC number to do what I do. I am authorized by the Law Society of Alberta to be a lawyer, and the Government of Canada authorizes me as an immigration lawyer to represent you fully in all aspects of immigration, including court, which is not something the consultants are authorized to do. So I'm here. I'm happy to help. I'll see you guys on Tuesday. And I have a very, very special guest that's joining me on Tuesday right here on the Canadian Immigration Institute live immigration Q&A. Take care, guys. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you later. Mark Holthe, signing off. Well, theoretically, I'm going to sign off. All right. Take care, guys.